I'm here with...
Hi, my name is Tim Morgan.
Hi Tim, can you tell us a little bit about your course, please?
Sure, I am responsible for the MA Arts and Cultural Enterprise course. It's created in Moodle, and I work at Central St Martin's.
Can you tell us a little bit about the aspirations you have for your course and your students? And a little bit about your students as well.
Right,
the sorts of
okay,
things that they're doing.
so the students are all, none of them actually physically come regularly to the college, so it is
Okay.
low residency. We have two cohorts. We have the Hong Kong cohort and the London cohort. So we actually run the same sessions using Blackboard Collaborate. We run the same sessions but at different times because of the time zone difference. So the Hong Kong students we're delivering actually very late at night for them, but that seems to be part of their culture.
Right.
And so they're actually picking up the Blackboard Collaborate course at 10 o'clock their time, if you can believe that.
Right.
Whereas we have our students, the London students, at 6:50.
And how often do the students actually come into the university, physically?
Right, well, we'll never see the Hong Kong students, believe it or not, although
Okay.
they go, because it's a partnership with Hong Kong University, they have face-to-face sessions
Okay.
in Hong Kong. We have the London-based students come in once every unit, and we have 7 units. So
Right.
give or take, they'll be here 7 times throughout the course, and it's a 2-year course.
Right. Fascinating. So that's you're one of a band of courses, or new courses in your case, that are very much promoting and experimenting and exploring the using online in a very, very big way, aren't you?
Yeah, it's really interesting because my background is fine art. I studied painting. It's very much a studio-based practice. And with the master's course, this is a lot more about kind of theory, business, the art world. So it's something that you can do. You're not kind of tied to a physical building, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I think that particularly with postgraduate courses, this is something that I'm sure that we will just keep exploring as a university.
Okay. And how is the course, or how do you design the course, and does the course team design the course to support this way of working and to support the goals of the course, as it were?
Well, it's in a sense, the course is a little bit old school in as much as you have online sessions to attend that only take place at certain times. So I have spoken with colleagues who have said, well, with our online course, you can approach this you can take it in any order that you like. So you can start Unit 3, then do Unit 4, then do Unit 2. That doesn't work for us because we have an online classroom which takes place at set times. Within that, you can then work at your own pace outside of those kind of structured times. But in a sense, we feel that structure is really useful for the students because it gives them something to work towards. So we're very keen on the human contact and in creating a sense of community, really, within both the London and the Hong Kong cohorts. And with Unit 2, we're going to be exploring how we can actually bring the 2 cohorts together. So there's going to be a lot more collaboration. That's certainly our intention.
Right. What are your thoughts about how you would move forward in that sense to have more collaboration? What sorts of challenges might you face, and what sort of ways of working are you thinking of introducing?
Well, the topics so the art market is a very international market. Hong Kong is a big player, as is London. So, and the Hong Kong students have a great level of English, and they're very keen to collaborate. So we're opening it up whereby students from the London and the Hong Kong cohorts can sit in on each other's online sessions. So that's something that we've already offered. But we're looking at cross-cohort project collaboration.
Right.
So they'll be able to, those who want to, will be able to work as a sort of as a team. With Unit 1, we already had team working activities, but those were very much based on getting to know people within your own cohort. I think what we're feeling now is that people feel very comfortable with their group, and that it's a chance now to, you know, for the wider group to kind of get to know each other. And I mean, we really hope that the friendships that build through the course become as important as the course itself.
Right.
So it's a real kind of networking opportunity for people.
Right, excellent. You use a variety of tools and techniques to further encourage this, don't you, as you're developing the course. And I know that you're using, for example, something like Moodle, but you've done a lot of work on it, haven't you? You've actually very much made it your own in your...
Yeah, I've worked with Moodle for probably about 10 years in a variety of different institutions. This version I really, really like. I'm using a feature called the tab display, and this is a great way to really arrange information. So I've looked at a whole series of kind of, for want of a better word, professional distance learning courses, and I've also looked at the ArtsCom. I did one of the ArtsCom courses as well that are, as you know, are created in Workflow,
yes.
and that was again just to see, you know, to evaluate different approaches and stuff. Yes. So I've taken a lot of information that I've seen elsewhere, and I brought it to our Moodle course. I think from its look and feel, it feels very polished, and I think that it, you know, we've put a lot of effort into signposting, and the students, I think with any course, the first couple of weeks were a bit of a challenge, but everything settled down really quickly. And we now, students are very clear where they can go to get the different resources, when to log in for the online classroom. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. It does very much. And I think what you're really showing us there is some aspects of how the course design supports the aspirations that you and the course team and the students have for their course.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the key difference between all the other Moodle courses I've ever worked on is that this course is the interface between us and the students, and it has to be a great experience. And so there's been a lot of effort put in to meet that, really. And there's the time commitment and the financial commitment, and they need to get the best, and that's really what we set out to deliver.
So what other benefits have come out of taking the approach that you have taken?
I think using Moodle is a good choice. I think it was the right choice. It's supported by the university. It's widely used throughout the world. So I think that was a good choice. I think the way that we've approached it we basically condense all the material per unit into one area. And we use the tab display in order to kind of clearly lay out the different weeks. In a way, you could see this as a series of pages. The pages have links, they have video, but it does have a feel, in a sense, of going through a book that the tabs enable you to see very clearly where you are within the course, where you've been, where you're going. So there's that kind of real sense of progress as you kind of move through the units, move through the weeks.
Yeah. Have students fed back to you what they like about that and what they possibly dislike about that, or how
the feedback has been very positive to both. So we've had feedback on Moodle.
Okay.
On Blackboard Collaborate, so the online classrooms, and then also the face-to-face sessions, which we've actually videoed as well, and then put the videos, made those available to the students. The feedback has been very, very positive. If anything, people have wondered how we can sustain this because it is labour intensive.
Yes.
And I'm spending a lot of time now working out how we can streamline things, how we can set things up so that to kind of minimise the work that goes on behind the scenes. Because as much as I like this, I know that at some point I will probably end up giving it up to somebody else. I don't know when that time is going to be, but I need to be able to set something up that somebody else is able to maintain and then also to progress as well.
I watched a recording of you at another forum. What was the forum?
That was Muggle.
Muggle, that's it.
Yeah, it meets I believe it's twice a year, and it's an e-learning group that look at really specifically Moodle. It's kind of a Moodle-focused e-learning group.
And you went through there the way in which you and the team planned the course, and all the work you've done on actually setting it up and tweaking it and making it what it is in its Moodle presence. And somebody asked you a question, and they asked you a question which actually ties in with what you just said about the sustainability. They were impressed with what you've done, and they also asked the question, yes, but doesn't this need someone with a high level of skill sets, or I think they possibly said a learning technologist to take that forward.
They said it looks like a course designed by a learning technologist, or something along those lines.
Yes.
And that was something I'd been aware of. So there are two things there, I think. One is I am actually employed. My job is to develop and maintain this course. You will find that a lot of courses where there is where it is primarily delivered online, that you will have somebody in the background who is doing all the legwork, if you like, making sure that it's running properly, that the files are where they need to be. Basically, somebody supporting that course. In this instant, it's me, and I think I'm now setting it up in a way that once it's set up, anybody can manage it. The setup definitely requires a lot of kind of planning, but I'm kind of learning as I'm going. We're now working with Unit 2. I have a series of templates to enable the academics to put the content in, to make it, to put it in a format that I can work with. I build, so basically what will happen is I will build the shell, and then what I'm hoping is that over time that the academics themselves will be able to put the PowerPoint files and stuff like that into the correct locations, and that the courses could become kind of self-managing. I build everything in advance, and then during the actual 10 weeks, I'm hoping that there's very little maintenance that needs to take place because it's all been pre-built. But it's true that with each unit, there's an awful lot of work that goes in. That's absolutely true. I mean, days and days and days and days and days. But for that, we have a very, very slick solution.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that this course is primarily online, and as you said right at the start, the key platform is the online platforms, and a lot of effort goes into, and a lot of skill goes into setting those up appropriately for the delivery.
Yeah, I mean that is that's one of the things you're paying for. That is that course represents University of the Arts or Central St Martin's. That is what people. That is their impression, and if we have something that is less than ideal, then we're not doing anybody a service. And I also see this very much as a kind of a research project in a sense, because like as you mentioned before, John, this is an expanding area for the university, and I think as we have kind of good models that we can refer to, then that will help us as we create more courses. And we've been working on an MBA, which is a partnership with Birkbeck University, that again will be delivered in a very similar way. And in fact, we put forward the work that I've been doing at Central St Martin's as the template, if you like, for the work for how we deliver the Birkbeck CSM MBA. So yes, the more we can understand now, the better it's going to be, as we move things forward.
What aspects of this have staff and possibly students struggled with the most?
I mean, I would say that the first 2 weeks were kind of difficult for everybody. But when I say difficult for everybody, I guess we were a group of people that we've really been learning on the job, I have to say. I mean, despite having 10 years Moodle experience, I've never created a distance learning course. It's always been a Moodle course that supported face-to-face teaching. Yes. I'm working with then Andy Marsh. He has years of experience as a lecturer, but he'd never delivered an online course. We had students who had never attended an online course.
Right.
So we had some technical problems with enrolment. I think that was probably the biggest problem. We had students that weren't able to log in because the enrolment process wasn't really complete. We had students enrolling very, very late, and they were enrolling over the Christmas period. So I guess those kind of technical issues were our biggest problem. I think then the Hong Kong students weren't always clear where to find their homework, where to find the slides that had been covered in the face-to-face session. And so we really had to look at how we could. So what came out of that, for example, is that I send the slides a week in advance. I use the quick mail feature from Moodle, so I can email the whole of the class with the slides for the following week, and just kind of use that as an opportunity to touch base. And then we've, under each tab, for each week has a tab associated with it, and then we put all the resources related to that week, sorry. So we put all the resources related to that week under that tab. And London have been really kind of clear that works for them. Hong Kong were less comfortable with that and wanted actually quite a traditional Moodle type result, whereby you have all the resources in one long list. They refer to it as a one-stop shop.
Right.
So, and I think that is actually the way that most people's the experience that most people have from using a learning management tool like Moodle is long lists of resources.
Yes.
I was really keen to get away from that. I was horrified that Hong Kong wanted to have that back. So, in fact, on today's session, it's the beginning of Unit 2, and I'm going to give them a presentation of how I would like this to work, to follow the London model, and we're just going to see what comes from that. So, yes. I'm not about dictating to people how this works at all, but I do want I want them to fully understand what they've got. If it doesn't work for them, then we'll go for this one-stop shop. But really, if we have to do that, I'll be very, very disappointed.
Okay. That's fascinating, because you're negotiating your way through different ways of doing the course and understanding how people are finding their way to resources and actually interacting with the content. And there are differences, aren't there, between the different types of cohorts potentially?
Completely.
Yeah, different individuals as well.
Yeah. And I would say one of the things for anybody who's setting a course up like this themselves, like one of the things you really have to look out for is making things as clear as possible, you know, at whatever cost, because the time it takes to, you know, so we have a total of 50 students. Imagine there's confusion and I get 50 emails, you know, in a week or in a day or whenever. I mean, to kind of work with, it all needs to be as clear as possible in order to, you know, for my own sanity really, as much as the students.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Do you have any other thoughts or reflections about this experience so far?
Well, okay, so I feel really proud of the work that has been created. I mean, I really do feel proud. I think that we've created something that is unlike any Moodle course I've ever seen. And I think it reflects we are like an art and design institution. I think it kind of reflects who we are. And I think the next thing for me is to see, what I would say is that we've got everything working. We feel comfortable with all the tools we're using right now. Definitely, we feel comfortable with them. The next thing is, what can we do next? You know, how can we, you know, we mentioned earlier about collaboration between the different cohorts. You know, for example, how is it going to work if we have a speaker from the States who wants to lead a session? You know, so there's I think what we're doing very well, and now it's time to kind of reflect on that and expand upon it.
Fascinating. Tim Morgan, many thanks.
Thank you.